Handbook is in one sense an established tradition, a tradition that IISD and UNEP I think have cultivated from a period of time when the conversation about trade and environment was almost antipolar, in the way that we had a sense of one regime encroaching on another or the other one overlooking the importance of the other, and therefore the whole conversation was framed very often from a very defensive point of view. A conversation about what has changed in the trade environment discourse over the last 20 years gives me some hope that we are moving beyond paralysis. A global market and a global trade regime that can align itself also with the imperatives from an environmental point of view, be they climate change, global warming, resource depletion, land degradation, water scarcity, will hold the key for many developing nations to succeed in a highly competitive global marketplace.
It's actually a third edition of a publication that UNEP and IISD have done in the past. It provides an explanation of the complex economic, policy and legal linkages between trade and green economy.
Let me offer you a brief overview of what's actually the substance of the book. On the environment side, it starts by talking about what are the principles that inform environmental law, how is environmental law made at the domestic level, and then it goes to the multilateral level with a focus particularly on those multilateral environmental agreements that have some trade relevance, Basel, CITES, the usual suspects. It then does the same thing in the context of trade, giving you an overview of how trade law and policy looks. It goes through some considerable new territory as well, and tries to, within the context of a number of synopses of WTO case law, illustrate and deepen the understanding of where those issues have played out in WTO dispute settlement. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you today and to contribute to demonstrating that this is a partnership in action. This is a cross-cutting, interdisciplinary area where trade meets development and environment, and the three have to be brought together in order for this to work, to reverse many of the negative externalities that derive from some forms of economic development. We know that trade is a driver of poverty reduction and a driver of economic growth. We know that. We've seen this in action.
The handbook provides, as you have said also in your remarks of taking 1, 2, and 3, a moment to reflect on what is actually changing. Secondly, on a more sophisticated discourse that is evolving. And to me, most importantly, to rescue the trade and environment debate from oversimplistic positions and too narrowly defined communities that are not actually creating bridges.
We used to think of trade and environment as two sides of the same coin. I know it's an old cliche. The question is not what side the coin falls down on when you flip it. It's how you use the currency. And I think that we need to use that dual currency to advance towards the common goal of sustainable development. And the real question is, where do we want to go? What does the economy that Achim wants to see reinvented look like? And then how well do the trade rules serve that?
I think the interesting question you put is, will the green economy become an enabler for trade? And I think that's what the next edition of the handbook will be. And the green economy is so important because we have to get back to the big picture, the consensus around which the world can move forward. Unless we can connect the narratives of economic development, of equity, and of environmental sustainability, development is under threat as never before.